Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In today's episode, I will be unboxing one of my Christmas gifts from my loving wife. It is a 3-speed air filtration system from the wonderful brand WEN. Now, I've had this kind of on a list of things that I was hoping to get for the shop. It's been definitely on my mind quite a bit with how much dust I generate in this shop. I have dust masks, and I've done a couple different things with like air hoses to kind of like blast out the sawdust as I'm sanding and stuff. But there's only so much you can do without actually having something that is built and created to filtrate all of that out of the air. Or you have something quite like the Harbor Freight 2 horsepower dust collection system that I had kind of filtrating the air, but it doesn't help too amazing past the point of the 4-inch tube. So this has been something that has been definitely needed for the shop. And now that we are in 2023, it is exciting to be able to kind of start the year off on the right foot with a little bit better health, so that way this little guy will keep me from hacking up too much more sawdust like I kind of do on the regular. Even with what I have to be proactive to kind of fight that, there is, as we woodworkers know, something that needs kind of filtered out of the air even with just some mild sanding. So we're going to do an unboxing, and I'm going to mount this up in my ceiling, or in my rafters rather, and I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. So thank you again, my love, and let's get to it. Alrighty, so the box is actually not too large to begin with. As noted on the packaging for the shipping label, it is 33 pounds in total. The overall length of the box itself is 23 inches by 19 3/4, with the overall height of 12 3/4. Just in case you're kind of curious to know, depending on what kind of apartment complex or house that you have set up for deliveries, that's just something that I like to know for sure whenever buying anything off of good old Amazon. So let's get to open this puppy. So, the instruction manual is just on top of this little flap here. It is the Model 3410 3-speed filtration system by WEN. Comes with a remote. Had a bit to look it over. Looking through the manual, you have all of your normal safety, general safety rules. Don't put it flat against the wall, and make sure that both sides have the ability to properly circulate the air. Okay, looking here, 3.4 amps. Required gauge for extension cords. I always love when they give you this. So for a 25-foot 18 gauge cord is what you would require. Otherwise, a 50-foot cord, you'd need to jump it up to a 16 gauge. 100-foot can maintain at a 16 gauge, but if you want to go 150 plus, you need a 14 gauge extension cord, which is super nice to know. Other than that, normal expectations, reducing risk, different things that you can do for setup, product description. So it comes with a carrying handle, control panel receiver, an additional fuse, power cord, filter lock clip, outer filter, 4 hangers and lock nuts, 4 wood screw hooks, 4 chains, and a remote control. So these are pretty easy to set up for the most part. Kind of gives you a basic rundown of how the system works. You have a inner and outer filter. One looks more like bags that are on the inside, and on the outside is your thicker, just kind of basic filter that you see on most kind of furnaces and so on. And it also gives you a breakdown list of all the internal components, as well as what they are called and their part numbers. Wonderful people over at WEN. You should be able to contact them and get any one of those components as necessary through the life of the unit ordered from WEN, which is nice. You also have a limited 2-year warranty on the back of the actual pamphlet, that is their instruction manual, all of your basic setups here: limited warranty of WEN consumer power tools, product for home use, Great Lakes technology, what the seller's obligation is to you. You can make a claim as long as it is at or under 2 years, and it looks like for it's any of those parts or anything that you may have that is any non-consumable components. So you can't say that a filter wearing out after a year is technically a part that's covered under the warranty. That's kind of a given. Alright, so looking at the inside of the box, we have 2 nice pieces of foam, a little cellophane bag to help kind of protect it. So, get that handle there. And with it being 33 pounds, it's not too bad. It is a little heavy. And there's it. Other than the 2 chunks of foam and the cellophane bag, it's an empty box except for this little tiny box. Looking into the tiny box here, or rather just small box, we have our remote control. That box is now empty too. And then we have our hardware. So we have our 4 hooks. They are rubber coated, so that way it kind of helps a little anti-vibration for the chain. We have an additional 4 hooks that are not covered in rubber. These are probably going to be what goes up into the rafters. And then we are met with our 4 chains. And it's actually a pretty decent little chain here. Oh, nice. These are pressure fits, so you can remove links in the chain, so that way you can make it a little shorter, a little taller, and you can also just unbend and rebend, or you can just undo this little keychain ring kind of setup here and hook it into a lower and raise it up or drop it down to its maximum length. The total length of this chain, if you're curious, from where it will dangle and hook to the... Okay, so for the very bottom here, we are at 11 3/4 from where you would actually hook onto on either side to either side is 11 3/4 of this distance is what the chain starts out as for a maximum length. Perfect. And it looks like I have the 4 nuts, as well as I have the 4 chains, and I have the 4 hooks that'll go into wood, and then I have 4 hooks that will get bolted onto the unit as well. And here is the nice little remote. We have a off button, on and speed, as well as we have a timer button if we only want it to filter for a certain amount of time, and so on and so forth from there. It looks like it requires 2 AA's, which it does not come with, which is fine. Luckily I have a small surplus of those batteries inside the house. And there you have just the basic kind of layout of what you will get with the product and the product itself. On the front panel here, rotate a little bit so you can see. We have 1H, 2H, and 4H, which is what I'm guessing is the speed range. On the top here we have high, or sorry, on the bottom, we have high, medium, and low. We have an off button and an on and speed button, as well as there is a fuse button right here. This little circle is the actual fuse itself, which I'm guessing is installed on it. So it doesn't actually come with a spare fuse, it just comes with the one fuse in it, from the look of it. Yep, we have one fuse installed in the front. Alrighty, so past that point, looking at it here, kind of rotate it so you can see. That was the front inlet, or actually it looks like that is the output. So this is where the air will come out, and this is where everything will get filtered in. Alright, so looking at the front of the unit, you have a clip on top and bottom, and you can remove the filter. So a 2-pack of the replacement of these filters is anywhere from $23.99 up to around $27.99, depending on when you get it on sale or not. The dimensions of the filter, or rather the sizing, is 422 by 246 by 45 millimeter. And that's on both sides of it. It also gives you an indicator for airflow. So this is going to be, if you see the wire mesh that goes to the inside of the unit. On the inside of the unit, this is your interior filter. So it has the two kind of what look like bags. Those will also go towards the inside of the unit. And it has a metal, actually aluminum, frame that holds onto it. And we have a foam liner on the outside and a pretty decent filter on the inside. Looking past that, there is a wire mesh on the inside, and then you have your turbine that creates all the suction and motion for the filters and unit to work properly. Pretty nice snug fit on the inside there. And those clips hold it in pretty nice and tight. I don't feel any kind of looseness or anything that's going to create any kind of wobble or jiggling noises that you're going to have to deal with in the shop amongst all the rest of the noise. Alright, so glancing at the instructions, you're supposed to remove these 4 bolts. It says that you are capable to mount it directly to the ceiling without the chains if you so wish to do so, but they ask that you put it at least 7 feet from the ground to get the maximum for the filtration that this can give you. If you mount it too much lower than that, it isn't going to create a proper suction and kind of a effect there. Pretty straightforward. Put the nut onto the bolt, or eye bolt rather. Alright, so thread the lock nuts almost all the way up the hanger. Thread a hanger into each of the 4 mounting holes on top of the air filter cabinet. Tighten each lock nut against the cabinet top. Hold the hangers so that they do not spin while tightening the lock nut. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, which is awesome. This is potentially looking to be a very quick and easy setup, depending on if you have everything pretty much ready to go in the rest of your shop to have this kind of up in place. And judging from the strength of the steel as well as the whole general setup of the unit, I do not feel this is something you need to necessarily Loctite right away, and it's not something you need to absolutely put Hercules strength into tightening each one of these. Just nice and snug, quarter turn. And you're already most way there. So now it's the deciding factor of which way you want to face the unit for the maximum amount of circulation through the entrance versus the export. So now everything is installed, and I am installing the batteries for the controller using only the most premium Walmart batteries on the market. We'll try turning it on. Not bad. Alright, that's low. There's medium. And there's high. So what you have with the 1H, 2H, and 4H is 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour for your timer. If I click it once, it's at 1 hour. Click it again, it's at 2 hours. Click it a third time, I am at 4 hours. And I can also turn it off. Alrighty, well I am super excited to have this installed, even though you can't see it in frame, which is great. The sound again for you with this wonderful little remote. So it's definitely there. I can still talk normal. I don't have to super overly exert my voice for you to be able to hear it. It still is definitely there. I don't know exactly the decibel count on this. Here is medium for you. Still talking kind of normal. And here's loud to give you kind of an idea. Now the camera is on the other side of the shop, even though it's a tiny shop. Not too bad. And to give you a couple of little ideas for this unit, the overall height from the ground to the unit itself, for at least my application and how I'm going to be using it. I'm at 7 feet 8 inches. So I'm right about at that sweet spot for it. And I have the ability to move around material without worrying about it absolutely bumping my head if I'm moving around, or moving a piece that's just a little bit taller than me and hitting above me, which is awesome. Now, a couple little things I ended up doing. As you kind of saw, I ended up having to adjust the eye hooks a little bit, so that way they could be angled inward to give me just a little bit more distance for the chains to lay just right and to reach properly. So I use the manual from edge to edge to kind of figure out my distancing on the hooks, and then I use this as a template. Pretty nice and little easy trick. I just kind of looked at the two and thought, hey, that looks about the right dimension. Sure enough, right off the bat for my distancing from hook to hook, so that way I could lay out nice and easy for those hooks on the top there for the chains. And as for the drill bit that worked perfectly for me, I used a 1/8 inch drill bit. And this gave me just enough to where I could still get it in by hand. It was still very tight to get the actual eye bolt to twist into the 2x6s that I have for my rafters. But just a little quick tip for you, make sure that you have an 1/8 inch drill bit on hand. It'll save you having to drill too tiny and really have to get it in there and potentially split any wood, or too big and then it's just not going to help you whatsoever for that hook to actually bite into any of the wood or material that you are working with. Now, a couple things I did read in the manual is that it suggests not to mount this whatsoever to drywall, which makes sense. You don't want to do drywall anchors and hope that 33 pounds above your head slightly vibrating is a good idea. So make sure to mount this into 2x4s on the other side of drywall if you have a finished garage or shop that you're having to go through drywall to mount this up. Otherwise, you can also use either plywood, or you can use some kind of 2x4, 2x6, what have you, to extend between two studs if you're having to mount this into some kind of drywall like a garage. So just a little tip there for you, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm definitely happy with the new product and the better feeling knowing that I'm going to have better air filtration, and it seems to be doing what it needs to do. I kind of threw a little dust up in the air and I could definitely see it's vortexing and pulling properly. It is against the wall as far as where it is pulling from. I do most of my sanding on the workbench as well as in front of it. So the actual import is on this side and then it pulls into the center of the room. That's just more or less how my layout is and the best way to kind of get the use out of that. I also slightly offset it from my ceiling since my main space is over here, not over that workbench. So that way I'm kind of more in my sanding zone versus I'm not so concerned with this picking up as much filtration off of my chop saw. So preference and a little bit of forethought. Please be sure and like the video if you enjoyed the content you're viewing. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to know each and every time a new video is out on the channel. If you want a notification as such, make sure and hit the notification bell. That'll give you a notification each and every time I put a video out. Thank you all so very much for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day.